This house has been certified by the US government as being capable of withstanding an EF5 tornado or a Category 5 hurricane. It cuts energy bills by up to 75%, insurance premiums by up to 90%, and can last for centuries without any rot or pest problems. Yet right now across America, a country where over 1 million new houses are built every single year, less than 900 of these homes exist. This is called a monolithic dome. And this is the story of the family who reinvented it, the secrets that make it nearly indestructible, and why the government makes it almost impossible for you to build one. The dome is not a modern idea. It is, in fact, the oldest structural solution humanity ever devised for enclosing space. Around 19,000 years ago, in what is now Ukraine, prehistoric builders constructed shelters from mammoth tusks and animal hides, bending them into rounded forms. They had no mathematics, engineering principles, or written instructions. But what they had was an observation. The curved shape shed wind, distributed weight, and stood when everything flat around it didn't. And 17,000 years before the first concrete was poured, the dome was already the answer. By the 2nd century, Roman architects had understood something that would take the Western world another 1,800 years to fully appreciate. That an arch rotated 360 degrees on its central axis creates a three-dimensional shell that distributes load in all directions simultaneously. In 125 AD, they used this knowledge to build the Pantheon in Rome, the largest unreinforced concrete dome ever built. And after nearly 2,000 years of earthquakes, floods, and invasions, that structure still stands today. But the power of the dome can be seen across time in countless civilizations. The Inuit igloo is a catenary dome of compressed snow, shaped precisely to convert the weight of the structure into compressive force rather than bending stress. A hemisphere under load wants to crack, but a U-shaped catenary doesn't. Wallace Neff understood this more than most when he invented and built the first bubble house in 1941. This inspired a whole new generation of dome builders, including the South brothers, who in 1976 clearly understood the engineering principle that the round continuous shell is structurally superior to every other form of enclosure. But they also came to understand that such a design had its challenges. After experimenting with geodesic designs inspired by Buckminster Fuller, David South kept hitting the same wall. Thousands of joints meant thousands of potential leak points and significant material waste. The true breakthrough arrived in 1975, sharing the pneumatic spirit of Dr. Dante Bini's earlier Binishells, when they pioneered a process that flipped the method inside out to create a more insulated, permanent structure. The result was a one-piece, joint-free, steel-reinforced concrete shell, 105 feet in diameter and 35 feet tall. This pilot project was a success, and they patented the process in 1977 and 1979. And just 2 years later, they built the same structure as their family home. The building was dubbed Cliff Dome, and it became an instant attraction, giving tours of the home up to 4 times a week to people from all over the world. The 8,000-square-foot house boasted 8 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms, a full-sized volleyball court, and an indoor garden, which was regarded as the pinnacle of monolithic dome engineering at the time. But how did the South brothers build their monolithic dome homes? And more importantly, what makes them a more durable and thermally superior alternative to conventional house designs? It starts with a circular concrete ring beam set into the ground. To that beam, the crew bolts the Airform, a custom-manufactured membrane of PVC-coated polyester fabric. High-capacity blowers inflate it, workers enter through an airlock, and now you're inside a pressurized fabric bubble. This is where the build actually begins. The first material applied to the interior surface is closed-cell polyurethane foam, sprayed roughly 3 inches thick. This foam is doing 3 things at once: creating a thermal barrier with an R value exceeding R20, providing the rigidity needed to hold steel and concrete before they cure, and acting as scaffolding for the rebar hangers. Those come next: horizontal hoops and vertical bars tied across the entire curved surface in 2 directions at once. Then comes the shotcrete, a concrete mix fired at high velocity through a spray nozzle. Because it's shot rather than poured, it compacts more densely than standard concrete. It builds up in layers until the shell reaches 3 to 12 inches thick. And when it cures, what you have is a single piece of steel-reinforced concrete. From foundation to apex, a design that engineers say has a lifespan measured in centuries. And there's a key detail in there that makes this superior to retaining heat. In a conventional home, the insulation sits inside the wall between you and the outside. But in a monolithic dome, it's the complete opposite. And because the insulation is on the exterior, the concrete mass, hundreds of tons of it, sits on the interior side of the thermal barrier. So once you heat or cool the interior, the concrete absorbs that energy and holds it, radiating it back slowly over hours. But the energy performance is only one benefit of a dome structure. Its durability in extreme weather conditions is what makes it truly remarkable. The catenary curve translates every load, the weight of the shell, snow, wind, or seismic force, directly into the foundation as compression. There are no corners where wind can get leverage to lift a roof. No flat wall sections where pressure can build to failure. A 300-mile-per-hour wind pushes roughly 404 pounds per square foot against a flat wall. But against the curved surface of a dome, that same wind flows over and around it because there's no flat face to push against. The federal standard for tornado and hurricane safe rooms rates monolithic domes as providing near absolute protection from EF5 tornadoes and Category 5 hurricanes. To earn that rating, a structure must withstand a 15-pound 2x4 traveling at 100 miles per hour. Against a standard brick veneer wall, that projectile goes straight through. Against a 3-inch dome shell, it barely scuffs the surface. And against fire, it's equally robust. The monolithic dome's steel-reinforced concrete shell makes it a Type 1 or Type 2 fire-rated structure according to the International Building Code, making it essentially fireproof. And plenty of real-world evidence has proven the effectiveness of these buildings. From a cost perspective, a school district in Wisconsin built 5 monolithic dome structures for $9 million total, with the dome design saving the district an estimated $8 million compared to conventional construction before a single utility bill arrived. Their superior energy efficiency has also been proven in multiple scenarios. In Mesa, Arizona, where the thermometer stays above 100 degrees for 107 days a year, a 3,000-square-foot dome home recorded a peak monthly electric bill of $199 during the summer cooling season. Whereas the average for a comparably sized conventional home in the Phoenix metro during peak summer runs between $400 and $600 a month, according to Arizona Public Service rate data, while in Virginia, one family documented annual energy costs of $900 for their 2,600-square-foot dome, less than most Americans pay to heat a single-bedroom apartment. But energy efficiency almost becomes a secondary story once you look at the disaster record. In May of 2003, a tornado passed directly over a 40-foot dome home in Polk County, Missouri. A nearly completed conventional house, a quarter-mile away, was blown into the forest, while the damage to the dome was just a single piece of window trim. And after Hurricane Katrina in 2005, the New Life Family Church in Biloxi, Mississippi, was one of the few large buildings left standing in the city. While at the same time, a dome home in Pensacola, Florida, survived 3 hurricanes in direct succession: Dennis, Ivan, and Katrina. But perhaps the most extreme test on record came in 2003. A monolithic dome government building in Iraq took a direct hit from a 5,000-pound bomb. The interior was destroyed, yet the dome structure itself remained standing. Today, there are close to 4,000 of these structures across 49 states and 53 countries used as houses, churches, or community buildings. But given the physics, the FEMA certification, and stellar disaster record, it makes you wonder why there are only around 900 of these homes in a country that builds over 1 million new houses every single year. The reason why we don't all live in these buildings likely comes down to bureaucracy. In the United States, mortgage approval depends on an appraisal. A standard mortgage appraisal requires the appraiser to find 3 comparable homes nearby that sold within the last 12 months. This system was designed for a housing market built almost entirely of rectangular wooden boxes. But monolithic domes are rare. Their owners, having built something that costs less to run and will likely outlast them, tend not to sell these properties. So finding 3 recent local dome sales is, for most appraisers in most markets, functionally impossible. And without comparables, the lender has no value. Without a value, there is no mortgage. And without a mortgage, the pool of potential buyers shrinks to people who can pay cash or negotiate a loan through a local credit union. Fewer buyers means fewer domes get built, which means fewer comparables, which means fewer mortgages. And then zoning codes also add a layer of difficulty. Many municipalities mandate a minimum roof pitch to maintain neighborhood uniformity. A dome's surface moves from vertical at the base to flat at the apex, which means it technically fails a fixed pitch requirement at every single point. And in states like California, getting a permit for a thin shell concrete structure that local inspectors have never encountered can cost over $40,000 in engineering review fees before a yard of concrete is poured. No one sat in a room and decided to ban the roundhouse, but rather the system was never designed to accommodate it, and instead focused on the mass-produced, profitable alternatives. But if you are interested in implementing a monolithic dome design for your next project, then there are some important facts you should be aware of. First, in the cost. As a mortgage to build may be more difficult to attain, you may have to front the upfront cost yourself. The shell itself, before interior finishing, runs roughly $75 to $100 per square foot, broadly comparable to a mid-range conventional build. But remember, the real savings come over time. 50 to 75% lower energy bills, dramatically reduced maintenance, because there is no wood to rot, no shingles to replace, and no frame joints to fail. For financing, the path that has worked for dome builders involves approaching a local community bank or credit union rather than a national lender, framing the project as a construction loan rather than a standard mortgage, and working with a licensed general contractor who can present a complete project package. And if you can secure an all-masonry insurance rate, premiums can run 50 to 90% lower than a standard policy. But the best way to learn and inform yourself more about these buildings is through the Monolithic Dome Institute. They regularly host a 5-day hands-on workshop in Italy, Texas, where tuition runs between $2,000 and $2,500. Over those 5 days, you work on an actual dome, applying foam, tying rebar, handling shotcrete, and you leave with construction manuals, cost estimation spreadsheets, and blueprints for small starter domes. The workshop also draws contractors, which makes it a direct connection to someone who can manage a build if owner building is not your route. The Monolithic Dome is a steel, reinforced concrete shell built from a 50-year-old patent, shaped by the same physics that kept the Pantheon standing for 2,000 years, and the financial system has decided that, because it is round, it is too unusual to finance. A lot of what this channel covers runs outside the conventional norm. Not because it doesn't work, but because corporations and regulatory bodies have dictated a more profitable path. If this is the kind of thing that matters to you, subscribing and sharing is the simplest way to make sure it keeps being found. And if you're interested in learning about a $15 hack that you can apply right now to make your windows outperform triple glazing, then take a look at this video here.